Four people were there, Randy, Jody, Mark, and
Yeah.
we
We'll resume our meeting.
It's a something for it.
Hey, Jennifer.
Okay.
I'm going to start. I started the.
You're missing. Oh, that's right there. And then don't know whether Brian or Al will be on Zoom.
No, they're not. Brian,
Yeah.
Brian has this. We've seen this. Just the terror.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Well, our problem now would have to be assigned building. It's like, they got two available.
You're okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting back to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. This is Water Board meeting number 5-25. The next item on our agenda today is approval of the agenda and approval of minutes 1-25, 2-25, 3-25, and 4-25. Did anybody peruse the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I did, and I would move to approve all those minutes.
I'll second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone see any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business is board elections and committee assignments. I suppose that ought to turn a temporary chair over to Mr. Patton to conduct an election.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, as you know, now that the governor is reappointed 4 board members, it is time to hold board elections. So the floor would be open for motions for chairman.
I nominate Jeff Raybould as chairman.
I'll second.
Okay, you have a motion, you have a second. Are any discussion around that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move nomination to cease. We cast a unanimous ballot for Mr. Raybould.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to turn my temporary chair back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm glad you didn't let all that power go to your head. Okay, we probably need to elect, we do need to elect a vice chair and a secretary. And nominations are open either for one or other position or a slate.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we elect Joanne Cole-Hansen as vice chair and Dean Stevenson as secretary.
Okay, we have a slate nominated. Are there any other nominations for those positions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move nomination to cease. We cast a unanimous ballot for the slate of officers that has been nominated.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. No parole today. Okay, next up on the agenda is public comment. Do we have a list of those who signed up for public comment today? I'm going to jumpstart this because I walked by the table. I think Brian Murdoch signed up. If you'd like to come up and comment while we're getting ourselves organized. We got some people we got to get on the road to far and distant places today. So welcome, Mr. Murdoch. Yeah.
One thing, what is that on the table over there?
It's a pointer.
It's the press.
It goes with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine. I saw Tom pick it up, I was wondering if something is personally. Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm just gonna ask that during the break.
Okay, all right. Brian, if you could introduce yourself for the record.
I am Brian Murdoch. I'm a farmer from Blackfoot, Idaho. I am here to probably introduce myself officially to the board. I'm the one who's probably been throwing the most rocks at you lately, and I promised I was not going to throw that pointer at you, Member Gibbs. I'm here really quickly to address the pause in the recharge well funding. I am here to plead, beg, say I'm sorry, whatever is required to see if we can't get that pause ended. I'm afraid, let's put it this way, I'm witnessing what I will call a COVID type effect on this pause. When you pause that a couple months ago, then all of a sudden everything else ground to a halt. We started to have the board of the commissioners of various counties also cease to issue permits for recharge, especially recharge wells. They have since also stopped issuing permits for recharge basins. Now I was talking with Chairman Raybould the other day and he said, get your permits, get everything in order, get it all fine, lined up. In which now I've heard that, in fact, something I didn't even know exists that called the UIC, the Underground Injection Control Program, who is the permitting process of this. They also have ceased issuing permits. And so therefore we're stopped there. And I'm worried, just like with what we saw with COVID, is once we kind of got everything shut down, it took a while to get everything started and to get back up. And I'm worried that the longer this pause is in effect, the harder it's going to be to get these projects going. I know everyone is trying. I was just talking with my groundwater board the other day. They're looking into every option they can as far as what's available. Bingham County primarily needs the recharge wells just simply because of the geology. And yet we're going to look harder at possibly recharge basins and stuff of that nature because we've got to get something going. This agreement really depends on recharge. I also am here to beg that we've got to start also looking to the future. We got to stop worrying about trying to divide up the pie of the water. We've got to start growing it. I've spent probably at least 2 days every week since the session has been in session over here. And I'm seeing so much growth. I'm seeing so much need for growth. I'm just seeing a boon. I was talking with Lieutenant Governor Bedke just the other day, and he was telling me about his visit to the Chobani plant, in which they were talking about how much more increase they have. Me and him figured out that that's going to almost require 200,000 more dairy cows just to have that work. So then when you start thinking about 200,000 more dairy cows, that's going to require a lot of hay, and this is where are we going to get this? We've got to somehow shift this focus from dividing up what little we've got back to growing the resource. As you were talking about yesterday, the generator up at the Dworshak power plant that you guys are in charge of, we got to start thinking about dams, not just generators. We got to start thinking about building more reservoirs. This needs to become the focus. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to meet you in person. I know I have definitely thrown a few rocks, and I'm sorry, but this is part of the process that I've had to learn too. Thank you.
Okay, board members, any questions for Mr. Murdoch?
Thank you.
One clarification, Brian. I don't think the work on permitting these recharge wells has stopped.
That was what I was told by my groundwater board members. They said, and I'd never heard of this UIC. I've heard, I know Eric Bowe is in charge of it.
Yeah, it's my process that they're proceeding.
Okay.
I think they're putting more focus on the area of influence that might be created from directly putting surface water into the ground, and maybe taking a little longer, but they haven't stopped. We've also been encouraging people on a parallel track to filing their applications with the department for permits to get their proposals in front of the board so that our staff can evaluate those proposals and be ready. We're going to have a discussion later today about recharge, and I think the topic of the pause will be part of that discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Sarah Olmstead, is that close? Yeah. Welcome. You could state your name and where you're from for the record, please.
My name's Sarah Olmstead, and I'm from Eagle, Idaho. I came to talk to you about cloud seeding. I emailed everybody on 3/13 and I have not heard back. So I would like to know when the board will address the GEO report on cloud seeding. It was released in December. It was mentioned at the last meeting that Kayla was awaiting the results of that report to ask for more funding on cloud seeding. There are some very sobering comments in this report. It says when uncertainty was considered in estimates of cloud seeding effectiveness, the estimated effect was not distinguishable from zero with a high degree of statistical confidence. It also explains how water gains are estimated, and the numbers are very fuzzy. And so I think all of our questions have been answered in this report, and we'd like to know how you all are going to address this publicly. My second comment would be that there's a bill that addresses term limits for the board that's being held up over in the House in the Resources Committee. And I just want to say, as you just reappointed Chairman Raybould, that the optics are pretty bad that we have Representative Britt Raybould in that committee that did not hear that bill. And I talked to some representatives about this, and the feeling was that they acknowledged the look of the conflict of interest possibly, and that it doesn't look good. So I guess that's more of a comment than anything, and just an ask that we look at accountability and how some of this looks to the public. So thank you, and I hope that you can address those two issues.
Okay, any questions for Sarah? Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Chairman Raybould. Ma'am, first of all, I did not get your email.
Okay, I can.
Secondly, I'm chairman of the Cloud Seeding Committee, and we are in the process of scheduling a meeting of the Cloud Seeding Committee. It will be in the next couple of months, so stay tuned for that. And thirdly, I was chairman of the Resource Committee for 6 years as a representative. And often chairmen hold bills for all sorts of various reasons. And it strictly is the option of the chairman of a committee to hold a bill at his desk without inclusion of any of the members on the committee. So yes, Chairman Raybould, not Chairman Raybould, Representative Raybould was on the Resource Committee also while I was there. But I would not make any I would not draw the conclusion that she is necessarily responsible for holding a bill at the chairman's desk. That would strictly be the chairman's option.
Okay, but that's why I said it's bad optics.
I understand that.
So
We talk about transparency in government all the time, and that's one area that is confusing to the public why a chairman would hold a bill. So.
Well, I don't want you to think that I'm confused.
Yeah, I know,
do
I
understand the
appreciate that,
process,
but I don't want to
that's why
draw out
you
the
said that it's
discussion
bad
any
optics,
longer.
because it doesn't look good.
But we will have a Cloud Seeding Committee meeting in the near future.
Will you address the GAO report?
Pardon me, ma'am?
Will you address the GAO report?
I mean, what report?
The assessment that Idaho.
The report that you haven't seen, will you take that up in your cloud seeding meeting?
I don't know yet. I have not seen, and we have not drawn an agenda for the committee.
Okay,
But we are working on scheduling a committee meeting.
can I email that report to you?
I didn't hear you.
Can I email that report to you?
Certainly.
Okay, it was the federal government who commissioned that report, so.
Okay, board members, any other questions? I will tell you, I did review the GAO report that you sent me. I thought there was quite a bit of fuzzy stuff in there. I suppose I'll have to disagree with you that settles the issue of cloud seeding. A lot of things up in the air. We believe that cloud seeding is beneficial to the state, at least I do. You heard a plea earlier that we've got to find more water. I think one of the ways we do that is through cloud seeding. One thing I did see in the GAO report is the cloud seeding we're doing today poses no risk. The amount of silver iodide being used, very clear statement to that effect. They did not evaluate if cloud seeding expanded, if that impact would change. But I don't think we need to have a long debate here today. We are going to have a cloud seeding committee meeting, and we will discuss the GAO report. We will talk about what we believe the benefits of cloud seeding are and how we should proceed managing that cloud seeding program on behalf of the state of Idaho.
I understand, but my concern is that you are misrepresenting the GEO report when you make that claim, because they did address the impact of possible more silver iodide as these
Well,
programs are ramped up. And
and I did not misstate. I said that as of present, there isn't a risk. They did not say, they did not come to a conclusion if
they said
there
it
were
was
more.
unknown. That
It was
doesn't
unknown. That's correct.
what you're saying, though. And I would say that Dr. Tessendorf herself said that only 3 out of about 24 clouds that were ripe for seeding. Let me read it from the beginning. 24 clouds that looked ripe for seeding, but they could only draw a clear link between seeding and snowfall in 3 cases. That's like 12.5% success rate. She says there's a small, hard to pinpoint signal that cloud seeding creates additional ice in a handful of other cases. And then no signal at all in some other instances. I don't feel like you all have actually done your research on that, because that's a very low statistical significance. And then the GAO report confirmed that. So I plead with you to read the report, read the study, and then make those decisions. Please do not keep saying that cloud seeding is successful based on 12.5%.
I don't think we've locked in on that number in particular. It varies from basin to basin. There's going to be an ongoing discussion about cloud seeding. I believe this board thinks it is beneficial. And to the degree that we have confidence that it's beneficial, I think we will probably continue to pursue accruing those benefits to increase our water supply.
Okay, well, I would say maybe spend the $10 million a year on water management, so we don't have another disastrous national attention curtailment this year or next or in the future, because cloud seeding is pseudoscience. And there are plenty of studies to say otherwise from what you are claiming. I don't understand how you have allowed cloud seeding to be rolled out like this. So thank you. I know that you probably want to move on, so.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming here. I know you've had some concerns about being able to have access. And anytime we have a meeting, they're open meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, the people in North Idaho wanted to ask questions too, and it was only a live stream on YouTube. So if there could be a Zoom in the future, or maybe if they can submit questions in advance, but it's just a suggestion.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I have other people on the sign up sheet, but no one indicated that they had a need for public comment. Have I missed anybody who wanted to provide public comment? Okay, the next item would be the financial report. Is that Neely today?
Yes, sir, it is.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'll pull this up here real quick. Think I can share that or? See here. I think I've got it now. Sorry about that. Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Today I'll be giving you your financial status report. As of January 31st, 2025, the board's available and committed balances are as follows. In the secondary aquifer planning, management and implementation fund, the board has a cash balance of approximately $38.8 million, a committed balance of approximately $32.3 million, and an uncommitted balance of roughly $6.5 million. In the revolving development account, the board has a cash balance of approximately $35.8 million, a committed balance of roughly $27.7 million, a loan principal outstanding of approximately $20.8 million, and an uncommitted balance of approximately $8 million. Lastly, in the board's water management account, you have a cash balance of approximately $319.6 million, total obligated funds of roughly $308 million, and then unobligated funds of approximately $11.5 million. Moving on to the ARPA appropriations,
You'll recall these were appropriated over a number of years for a total of $250,000. You can see here on the memo that to date, you've received 200 million. And that you have obligated 250 million. You'll receive that additional 50 million for FY 2026 ARPA appropriation on or after July 1, 2025. And then there you can just see the expended and the remaining committed balance. And with that, I would stand for any questions on the board's financial report.
Okay, any questions for Neely? Okay, all right, thank you, Neely. Next up, loan program interest rate. Justin is going to handle that. Justin Ferguson, welcome.
Let's find the screen here real quick. The materials. Give me just 1 second. Let me grab the materials. Oh, no, okay. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Just a quick run through on the loan program interest rate conditions. So last week we did a presentation to the Finance Committee. Let's see. Perfect. Last week we did a presentation to the Finance Committee where we laid out a couple of indices that we could adjust the loan program to start looking at the interest rate. Right now, the program's sitting at, I want to say it's a 7.5. We're looking to adjust it in April, but it tracks with the federal prime rate. We had presented the 30-year bond rates, and we had presented the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, and then we had also presented, and we'd actually looked through a couple other options, but it was recommended by the Finance Committee that we attach the program to the 30-year bond rate here on your screen with a couple of caveats. With that, we would look at a program floor of 2.5%. So with this index, there is an opportunity where it can drop to zero. You kind of see right there, right about the pandemic, things got bad, and we saw that across all of the indices. So adding that program floor of 2.5% keeps us from hitting rock bottom. On top of that, we also looked at adding a top to the program of 5.5%. And that keeps you guys in the range that keeps it competitive. With that, the committee also recommended that we add 50 basis points to the rate. On your screen, it may be hard to see, but that 30-year bond yield is right about 4.6%. So if we add the 50 basis points, it comes out to about 0.5%. That would put us at 5.1% right now for the program. With that, I was trying to think if there's anything else, but I can stand for any questions, or I can jump straight to the resolution.
Any questions on the committee's recommendation to base the interest rate off a 30-year bond yield? If not, we'll move to the resolution. Pat.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the resolution to authorize adjustment to loan program conditions.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second? And is there anything that you want to highlight in the resolution beyond what you've given us?
Just, and actually, if you don't mind scrolling to the bottom, perfect, right there. On line 18 and above, I lay out some of the history of how the interest rate was adjusted through the past. But starting at line 18 is, now therefore be resolved that the interest rate shall reflect the 30-year bond rate plus the additional 50 basis points or 0.5%. And then at line 21, be it further resolved that there will be a minimum interest rate of 2.5% and a maximum of 2.5%. And past that, that's all I wanted to highlight.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motions or any questions about the resolution? Joanne?
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to point out that this resolution would go into effect April 1st, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Okay,
Mr.
Dean.
Chairman,
Also, I think these rates adjust quarterly.
That's,
First day of the quarter is when we pick the date for that, any loans in that period. So
yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We will proceed to vote. We'll do a roll call vote. If we could, please, Jennifer.
Mr. Barker is absent. Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead is absent. Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, thanks for your work on this.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Anderson Ranch Dam Raise.
Looks like we have the Bureau of Reclamation here.
Okay, oh,
Actually, just a quick introduction. On behalf of our staff, we're looking at scheduling committees later in April, to start working through some more of the allocation framework. And that we are, we're looking to get with protestants through the summer. And I want to say that's the highlights from the board staff. With that, we've got Chris Keith from the Bureau.
okay, welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Brian was double, triple booked, and so he sends his best. And I'm glad we can make sure we give you an appropriate update at these meetings. So thank you so much for having us today. I am also joined by Brianna Pitcock in the back of the room. She's a newer project manager on the Anderson Ranch Reservoir Rim projects. She's filling the role that Holly Coons was providing, and Holly departed a few months ago to a different agency. So really look forward to working with Brianna. Similar teamwork. She does have a great reclamation experience, from budget to environmental compliance to program coordination. So going to bring a really valuable set of skills to the project. For today, my update will be fairly brief. Kind of typically what we do, I'll brief you on what we oftentimes call the 3 swim lanes of work. So the work on the reservoir rim projects, the work on the dam raise, and the work on our environmental compliance, or our NEPA. At the last board meeting, it was reported that the reservoir rim projects completed their 90% design level. That happened in December of 2024. And so that was a great accomplishment for that. As of this update, we have completed our 90% design review, both internally and externally. That did produce about 350 comments. So that number sounds fairly scary, but those 350 comments, the majority of them, they were editorial in nature and fairly easy to approve or reject, either between our designers or our project management team or our project sponsors. Some of those comments we are taking the additional time to follow through on those and make sure we just do our due diligence to fully resolve or get the disposition correct on those comments. Some of those comments that we want to make sure we take the time on is to harmonize, specification language with the dam raise specification language, and make sure that's synced up to the best of its abilities. And then a few other site-specific comments that we are following up on to address. In terms of our dam raise scope of design, the Technical Service Center is still diligently working through to get to their 90% design milestone. And just like last board meeting, we still anticipate receiving that in our region by this summer. So that's currently the schedule for the dam raise. And all of that would lead towards 100% design package overall, across the rim projects and the dam raise by fall of this year. In terms of our environmental compliance, our NEPA work, we are continuing to work on the preparation of the supplemental draft EIS and getting the right folks going on their analysis. And we still, as of today, the schedule, we still anticipate publishing that this year for the supplemental draft EIS. Also, just wanted to make sure we highlight some good news and continue to highlight it. Last time we mentioned we were approved for 7 million additional in federal funding. There was a slight pause on that with the administration change, but that has been released and it has been loaded to our books, and all of the accounting numbers, everything are all linked. So that is really good news in terms of the 7 million additional federal funding. And that, as a reminder, that funding would go towards the most recent contract that Reclamation and the board entered into for typically the design and the work that needs to be done for design and construction of the project. For leaving you with a few main points today, just wanted to highlight that the project team is working hard to accomplish their work. You heard a few updates from me. And as of today, the core reclamation team that's working on it remains whole. And the project also remains one of the Snake River Area Office's top priorities, or it is its top priority. And with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I will stand for questions.
Okay, any questions for Chris? I think we're okay. Just keep cracking the whip. You reported 90% is going to be available this summer. Seems like in the not too distant past that was spring. Let's try not to let these milestones slip any further.
Yes, understood, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Justin, do you have anything else on Anderson?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mountain Home Air Force Base Water Resilience Project. Who's covering that?
We'll have Megan Carter cover this piece since we had a more detailed update from Mike Morrison yesterday on the construction progress.
Okay, welcome, Megan.
Good morning, all. The Air Force requested some changes to the stipulation between Elmore County and the board regarding its water rights that involve well number 8, which is the well the Air Force uses to irrigate its golf course. The Elmore County has agreed with those changes, and you have a resolution before you, I believe, that approves signing off on those changes.
Okay, I have a sense that that's about to be presented to us. Okay. All right, is there anything you'd like to highlight in this resolution? It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep, that's all I have to say. The resolution is pretty self-explanatory.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution on concerning Mountain Home Air Force Base.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Voice vote. You want a roll call?
Roll call would be
Okay,
safest.
all right, let's do a roll call.
Adjacent to funds.
Okay, thank you. If you could please, Jennifer.
Mr. Barker's absent. Ms. Cole-Hansen.
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs.
Aye.
Mr. McMahon.
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead, absent. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone.
Aye.
And Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Anything else, Megan?
Not on this topic.
Okay, yeah, here. Priest Lake litigation. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, the board's outside counsel on the Priest Lake litigation has provided an updated budget for litigation expenses moving from now through the August trial. That number was not put in your resolution, but it has been identified to be $713,000. So the resolution asks you to approve an expenditure up to that amount.
Okay, board members, any discussion, any questions for Megan on litigation costs? Okay, then if we were to insert in these blanks in line 39 and line 41, $713,000, that would complete the resolution.
Yes, it would.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution with that dollar amount inserted.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote on this.
Mr. Barker absent, Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Olmstead absent, Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Payette Basin storage request.
I believe Amy Castle is on by Zoom from Salmon, and she's gonna lead off on this topic.
Good morning, Amy. Welcome.
Good morning. How's my volume?
Good, yeah.
Okay, great. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For your consideration this morning, I do have a resolution pertaining to the Upper Payette River Basin Storage Project. Just briefly, a little history of our interaction on this project to date. The Upper Payette Storage Association was formed in December of 23 with the goal of obtaining uncontracted storage in Cascade and Deadwood reservoirs. The association consists of main stem Payette River and tributary water users above and below Cascade Reservoir. The association approached the board's storage committee on May 6th of 24, requesting that their proposal to obtain uncontracted storage space be considered for the board's regional water sustainability project list. And then on May 13th, the finance committee recommended the proposal to be added to the list. And then on May 24th, the full board did adopt a resolution to formally add the Upper Payette Basin Storage Project to the regional water sustainability priority project list. Since that time, based on direction from the storage committee, board staff has coordinated with the various parties that have an interest in this proposal, including the Upper Payette Storage Association and also the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. As a result of these discussions, Reclamation has recommended that the board submit a written request asking them to identify the process and the associated costs of evaluating the potential to secure uncontracted storage space in Cascade and Deadwood reservoirs. So that's the history. Moving on now to the resolution. What is this resolution? It is essentially a request, that the board send a written request to the Bureau asking them to identify the process to evaluate the acquisition of uncontracted storage space in Cascade and Deadwood reservoirs. Specifically, if you go down to line 33 in the resolution, we will be asking them to evaluate the steps and the costs associated for one Cascade reservoir only, and then two in both Cascade and Deadwood reservoirs. The letter will specifically state that the acquisition of uncontracted storage space in these reservoirs will not impact storage water release by Reclamation to meet flow augmentation obligations. And finally, the written request to Reclamation will specify the acquisition of uncontracted storage space in these reservoirs will be accomplished through a contract between the board and Reclamation. So for your consideration this morning, that is that is the resolution. And with that, I'll stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I believe Ron Shirtliff, Mr. Shirtliff, you're here with us. Do you have any comments on this? You probably better come to the mic.
My name is Ron Shirtliff, and I represent the Upper Payette Storage Water Association. I believe your resolution captures exactly what our request is. I hope and pray that we can go forward with this. I want to tell you that I really appreciate the fact that you guys will take interest in our request. I see no reason why this isn't something that should be accomplished. That is the reason that Cascade and Deadwood were built, were to serve the in-basin needs. And I'm very hopeful that we can accomplish it, getting these contracts for those folks that were left out.
Okay, any questions, either for Mr. Shirtliff or for Amy, about the resolution? Okay, thank you, Ron. Board members, we have a resolution before us.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution. Any discussion? Is this going to involve money eventually?
Eventually it will.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote on this as well, Jennifer.
Sure. Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Jennifer. Next up is the Blackfoot River Equitable Adjustment.
Yeah, I'm gonna handle that one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
So you know, the Blackfoot River Equitable Adjustment and the Blackfoot River Management Plan is one of the couple remaining outstanding items to the 1990 Fort Hall Indian Water Rights Settlement Agreement. The Blackfoot River Management Plan is itself a technical document that details how stream gauging, flow measurements will be made and water rights administered as to between the tribal water rights and the non-tribal water rights that take water out of the Blackfoot River. This has been a fairly long process to get to this point, and at this point, the Blackfoot River Management Plan has been approved by everybody else but this board that is required to sign. The Shoshone-Bannock tribes have signed. The Bureau of Indian Affairs have signed. Water District 1 has signed. Water District 27, which is the Blackfoot River water users, have signed. And the last remaining signatory is this board. So in front of you, you do have a resolution that, if you pass it, would authorize the chair to attach his signature to that Blackfoot River Management Plan as well.
okay, board members, any questions on the resolution? Mark?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the resolution on the equitable Blackfoot River adjustment.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, because of the multiple parties involved in this, I think we'll have a roll call vote on this as well. Jennifer?
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Next up, ESPA Recharge Program. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning, everyone. Just a little bit while I put my materials up. There it is. Good morning. So I'm going to provide a brief update on your ESPA Managed Aquifer Recharge Program. So to start off with, far as recharge to date, we're a little over 111,000, almost 112. This update was from the 17th, so at this point in time, we're probably above that. And I apologize, the current rate is way off. So the current rate is around 500 DFS, a little bit over that. We started on October 22nd, and we're now, of course, this is up to March 17th. So these dots are kind of proportional to how much has been done. And so just very quickly, Twin Falls has done over 9,000. The Southwest irrigation districts over 12. And of course, most of it has been at the Milepost 31 site at 90,000. We've also started recharging off of the Littlewood. So that started on March 6th. We're only doing around 20 CFS, and currently we're at 348 acre feet there. And as far, this is just a different way of viewing it. It shows it through time. One of the things I want to point out for those that have been following the recharge program for the last 10 years, this graph is a lot smoother than it used to be. We used to be kind of all over the place, and staff working with our partners have really kind of got this worked out. So it's a fairly smooth operation now. So one of the things that's coming up very soon is how long are we going to have recharge available to us? And of course, that depends on when the canals turn on, because then that will turn off our recharge. So Northside is planning to turn on, starting to wet their canals on March 26th. The same as with Twin Falls. And then AFRD2 is April 17th. So basically what this means is our recharge is going to be turned off, come out of priority on March 26th. From the Upper Snake Advisory Committee that was held last week, or I'm sorry, the second Thursday of the month, it's really up in the air if we're going to have water, if there's going to be flood releases afterwards. They're predicting very loosely and not with a lot of confidence that that would happen in April. And so it's really going to depend on how long those last, how quick it comes off. Staff's monitoring this very closely, and we'll do our best to capture as much as we can. So before I go on to the next portion, are there any questions about our current status?
Any question on current recharge activities for Wesley? Dean?
Sure. Is the one on the Littlewood, is it at the Richfield site?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. Sure.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay, so for those that haven't seen this book, or what this map shows is all the projects that the board has worked on developing our recharge capacity over the ESPA. So the green dots are, the small green dots are completed. The bigger green dots are ones that have been completed very recently. The orange reflects ones that are in progress, and then the funny shaped pentagon, kind of a brown color, those are test projects that we have to kind of test the concept to see if recharge will work in the area. I covered this at the last board meeting, so I'm not going to go into much detail. In your board materials, there's a more detailed list of the project and what's going on. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. One of the things I did want to cover that was a little harder. So one of the things that has just gone through, as the board knows, is the goal of the recharge program is now 350,000 acre feet per year. And what these yellow squares reflect is these are all of the projects that we know about, that staff are actively working on to try and develop to bring to the board. They cover a wide range of things. There's test injection wells, there's new basins, there's infrastructure improvements so the canals can move more water. But it gives you an idea of how many that we're working on and kind of the spread of where they're at. And as we get more proposals in, I actually got a proposal in yesterday. I apologize, I didn't have enough time to present it to the board today, but basically there's a lot of things in the works. Any other questions? I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for Wes? Okay. All right, thank you. We'll see what transpires in the next month on water supply.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Before we move on, Mr. Chairman,
okay,
this would be the appropriate time if you want to reconsider the pause on recharge well funding.
okay, based on everything we know, we've learned, since we put the pause in place, what does everybody think about, lifting that pause, when applications come in, to review those applications and consider funding once permits are issued, for those projects to move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we lift the pause in funding of the injection wells.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? How close of a cousin is this to funding to have a roll call? Close enough?
Close enough.
Okay, Jennifer, I know you enjoy this. Let's have a roll call vote.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. We have money available when applications are received and evaluated and presented to the board for approval. Okay. Rental pool procedures. Mary, you handling that today?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Happy to see you again today. Yesterday, we discussed some changes to rental pool procedures for Water District 01 Upper Snake and Water District 65 Payette. And today I have the resolution for your consideration to approve those changes to those procedures, as well as the memo from the director that he has reviewed these procedures and recommended approval for each of them.
Okay. Any questions for Mary? We spent some time going over the proposed changes to both sets of procedures yesterday in the work session. We have the two resolutions. We could take them up separately, or we could bundle them in one motion, whatever your preference might be.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve both resolutions for Water District 1 and Water District 65.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, flood management grant criteria.
Blake Burkhardt with staff will present that, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Brian. Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Waiting for Jennifer to bring up my memo. So the Idaho Water Resource Board has been operating the flood management grant program since 2018, following direction from the legislature. And I've been scoring these applications since 2022 and am excited to have an opportunity to improve the application process and the scoring process. So working with Neely Miller and some other board staff, we attempted to do three things. One was to trim the materials that applicants would have to reference while working on the application by consolidating information across three documents. Number two, align the application requirements to the criteria by which we score the applications. And third, most importantly, alter the criteria to make it more user-friendly for both applicants and staff. We believe the product of our efforts better demonstrates the program's objectives to fund projects that support flood management in Idaho. So last Friday, March 14th, staff discussed these changes with the Finance Committee, and they recommended that the full board adopt the criteria attached to the resolution, and I'll review the resolution now. So the first 14 lines just introduce the program and the board's last effort to update the criteria. Line 16, 17 are now therefore be resolved that the Water Resource Board adopts the attached criteria for the award of the flood management grants. And with that, I'll stand for any questions and ask the board to adopt the resolution.
Okay, board members, any questions on the changes to the criteria or the resolution adopting those changes?
Mr. Chairman, I move
Yes.
that we approve the criteria on the management of flood grants.
Okay, all right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Let's do a roll call on this one.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, loan program.
Justin has a couple of loan extensions, potential loan extensions that may require your approval.
Welcome back.
Good morning again. You're stuck with me all morning.
That's okay.
So just two loan extensions to run past you this morning. The first one is for Barber Pool Hydro. They were approved for a loan. It's $850,000 at a 3.33% interest rate. What had happened was they applied for the loan and then they were also given an extension while they're working through the FERC licensing process. In talking to their representative, they're still working through the FERC process. So they're looking for an extension through 2027. They're hoping to break ground in October of 26, but just in case, we're building in some padding, just in case things take longer with FERC than we planned.
Okay, any questions for Justin on this proposed loan extension? Okay, we have a resolution before us to authorize that extension.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I move that we approve this resolution as the circumstances are outside the control of the applicant.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. Jennifer, we have a roll call.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. And the second resolution is for the Northside Canal Company. And similar situation, circumstances beyond the applicant's control. They had applied for a loan and then they had also received an extension while they were working to get a Water Smart grant through reclamation. And they got the project ready, put it out to bid, and received no solicitations. So Alan came back, he provided a letter. They're also looking for an extension through 2027 to put the project back out to bid. They've got their engineering partner working with some potential companies in the area to see when a better time to put that out to bid is. But he's hoping to break ground as soon as possible. But again, we're looking at December of 27, just so they've got some padding in case something unforeseen happens again.
Okay, any questions for Justin on this loan extension? Okay, we have a resolution before us.
Mr. Chairman, we accept this resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. Jennifer, if you could call the roll, please.
Ms. Cole-Hansen,
Aye.
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. McMahon,
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Van Stone,
Aye.
and Chairman Raybould.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Moving right along, we have a regional manager update, and here's our guy.
Nick Miller, the Western Regional Manager for the department, will provide an update on things of interest going on in his region.
Okay, thanks for being here today, Nick.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Jennifer's gonna open up an exciting PowerPoint presentation here. Well, that's nested deep, isn't it?
Well, it was. With my stuff.
Well, I guess I'll start off by saying I'm, being in the Western region here in Boise, so close to the state office and where all the action happens. I'm oftentimes find myself in a situation where you guys know more about what's going on in my region than I do. So I don't always know what's going to be of interest or value to you guys to see. So I'm gonna try to hit some of the high points. And I encourage you to ask any questions if there's anything in particular you'd like to know about what's going on or. Okay, this is how I go to the next one. Okay. So I was, as I was preparing for this, as I said, I'm kind of trying to figure out what would be of interest to you guys and some sort of things that we're working on that are big in our world, and I hope they're of interest to you. So I was going to talk a little bit about what we do at Western Region and some of the changes that we've made recently. Look at a little bit at some of the trends in water right filings and well construction, things like that, because as you know, the theme, I think, across the state, but particularly in the Treasure Valley, is growth and development, and we see a lot of change, and so I tend to kind of focus on that a little bit. So we'll talk on a little bit about those kinds of trends and try to touch on those projects that I think you guys, as I say, probably know more about than I do in some cases, but I'll mention them. And then the last section was just sort of an overall sort of closing thoughts things. I don't want to sound like I'm standing up on a soapbox or editorializing too much, but again, it seems like, the kind of work that you guys do, again, you probably know more about this kind of stuff than I have, but maybe just me mentioning it might reiterate the importance of a lot of what you guys are doing. So we'll move on. All right, so this is the org chart for Western Region. As you can see, I'm the manager of the region, and I oversee 12 employees that I have organized into basically 3, I guess you call them teams. And this is sort of a recent change. And the reason that I did that is again, being so close to the state office, we have benefits and we have challenges. So in my time there, which has been about 10 years now, none of these people were here when I started, and we've lost a lot of people to the state office through promotions, which is good, right? And some people have left and gone to other work. Some people have retired. But what we found is with a more linear structure, we didn't have enough redundancy in capabilities. And so somebody would leave and we'd be sort of stuck in a jam until we can get somebody else trained up. And so now we've split things out and we've got some more robust for those kind of changes. And so we've got Manuel and Cody and Clint are sort of the resource protection arm. Manuel primarily does dam safety inspections. Cody and Clint do compliance, some water district work, and well construction. And these other 2 teams represent the bulk of our work, which is application processing, customer service, water district support, jack of all trades kind of things. And then our region also houses the dam safety of dams program. John Falk, who's the program manager, and Amy, administrative health, they're under their own group, but they're housed at Western, so they're on here. Let's see, and these colors are not showing up like they're supposed to, but that's all right, because this is our.
They look better on the.
Oh, you can see on the screen. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Look okay on the side screens.
yeah.
Okay. As I was saying, even if you can't see the lighter blue lines, they largely follow the same trend, which is pretty much no noticeable trend over time. We do get little periods where things are a little bit higher, and last few years, applications have come in a little bit lower. We generally keep up with the number of applications that are coming in. We get them processed. We do have a working backlog, and that's just kind of the way it is. But the takeaway is we get about 180 applications for new water rights every year, and about 50 applications for transfer every year. Let's see. And I couldn't figure out how to make this portrait so this map would fit better, but I put this in just as a spatial distribution of where we're seeing our new applications. And as you can see, The bulk of them are down in the Treasure Valley. And there's another cluster up in Valley County up there, but very little development, as you would expect, up in the forest or down in the Southwest desert. So that's sort of where we see things. This one I included to just kind of cover the question that we always get, which is how long does it take to process an application? And one of our metrics is to reduce processing times. And as you can see here, as time has moved on, we're shifting more and more of our approvals into that green bar, which is the faster processing time. So I think that's an achievement. We're getting more things done in less time. So I'm kind of proud of that, and hopefully that trend continues. And one of our priorities for the coming year is to knock out some of the older, more complicated applications that have just sort of stalled, which maybe you guys don't have any interest in, but that's what's going on in my world. Well, construction, this is kind of interesting because there is a pretty clear trend here that well, construction applications sort of peaked in the early 20s, and at least in Western region have been dropping off. And it's still high relative to other parts of the state, I believe. And I guess when you look at this graph based on what I pulled out of the database, it seems like there's been about 10,000 new wells constructed in Western region over the last decade, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, but makes sense with all the development and everything going on. So then guess moving on to the specific topics that you guys would have an interest in, the Mountain Home Air Force Base water right authorizations. They're on track, and I think Megan talked about this earlier. So we've processed in the state office, they processed the water supply bank application. We are zeroing in on the final touch-ups on the winter Snake River application. I think what you guys voted on today is one of the last hurdles. I think now it just has to go before the Mountain Home or Elmore County Commissioners for their approval, and then we'll be pretty much ready to wrap that one up. Anderson Ranch water right authorization. Again, we're standing by on that one. Not a lot of news to report there. It sounds like they're gonna continue their allocation framework meetings in the coming months, and I think I heard him say something about giving the protestants until the end of the summer. So perhaps we'll pick that one up with some more contested case conferences, or maybe they'll have things resolved by then. But we're not, at this point, our Western's role in this is pretty minimal. Elmore County's Snake River application, we're moving on that one. We've submitted an information request from the county, and they're gonna get back to us sometime in the next month or two, I think. Big one, IMAP, you guys all probably know, the integrated municipal application package. Now Veolia, it's a 20-year epic water right transfer that is finally wrapping up. We've issued them a draft approval document, and I think we're just working on a few last minute things to kind of work out. And the big problem there was just the physical magnitude of it all, something like 100 water rights and 90 wells, and have to go through and put conditions all 100 water rights, and just getting that into the database was kind of a technical challenge. But other big one, pay at storage refill applications. I think you guys have probably heard or know maybe more about some of this than I do, but in the Boise and the Upper Snake, they had negotiated settlements in the SRBA to refill the federal storage reservoirs after flood releases. In the Payette, they weren't able to do that because they had just gone through an adjudication and were barred from claiming this use in the SRBA. So they had to file applications for permit, and those are presenting some technical challenges, but we are moving forward on that. So that's another good one to get wrapped up. And then I tried to think of other high profile projects that you guys might have some interest in. We had some transfers for Micron and Nampa Meridian regarding their project out there, and those are all through. They're not waiting on us for anything. Nampa Meridian is also, we've had some other transfers to expand their service area to places above the reservoir system to be able to participate in mitigation, or to be able to divert out of priority now that they've expanded administration up above the reservoir system. So that's kind of a complicated one. Then Avamore, City of Eagle, they got annexed and they're raring to go. So we've got some water authorizations there that we're working through some things on, but they're, again, fairly complicated and high profile things that you might have heard about. And as I was sitting here thinking about some other ones, Cat Creek Energy is another one that is still ongoing. We're not doing much with it. It's a contested case, and I don't think there's a whole lot happening with that one, but again, you guys might know more than I do about what's going on there. Let's see. Do I have? So then just my general observations as always, and I'm probably preaching to the choir and rehashing the old chestnut again, but our main observations are there's been constant growth and largely urbanization in the Treasure Valley, but overall just changes in water needs and water uses, and that results in us getting a lot of sort of non-traditional applications for water uses and demand for water that maybe we wouldn't have seen in the past for industrial uses, and some aesthetic flows and wildlife and recreation and all kinds of things that maybe the old timers would cringe at as even being worth spending any water on. But that's the nature of sort of what's happening, is we're moving more towards urbanization and away from ag in a lot of ways in the Treasure Valley. So we're seeing a lot more demand for groundwater. Changes in use of the surface water are resulting in changes in the delivery issues. Some of the drains that used to flow consistently now maybe flow consistently, but they kind of turn off when a subdivision turns on their pump for a few hours after work. But again, this isn't unique to Western, but just all these changes are resulting in the need to adapt, right? And so we're seeing that in the water right applications, and I'm sure you guys are seeing that in the types of projects that you're looking at as well. Why is this not changing to the next? There we go. So I put this slide together. It was a little bit later in the evening and I was a little bit tired, so forgive me if it's a little flippant. So I wanted to think about some successes and challenges that we've seen. And there are some good things that I've seen. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, when I was looking at some data for the Boise front, the city of Boise's geothermal system, and Boise Warm Springs Water District and the capital and the VA and all of that. They're all doing making great use of that resource, even though it's in a groundwater management area and there's a moratorium and all that stuff. They've changed what they're doing, and their cities now, at least, or has been for quite some time, but they re-inject their LTG water. And there's been recoveries in water levels in the Boise front of over 100 feet in some places since the 80s, and it seems to be pretty stable now, and they're expanding the system and getting a lot more out of it, right? So I think that's a success. We're really maximizing the resource, and just by making that change of re-injecting, they're able to get more out of it. You guys are aware of the automation that's installed in the Boise and Payette water districts and Water District 2, and just all these improvements that people have been able to do, lining the New York Canal, all these things that have been happening over the years that improve the efficiency and help us adapt to those changes in water demands and all that kind of stuff. And that's all great. But I'm also seeing, as again, preaching to the choir, and this is not anything new. But individuals and smaller operations, you know, they're having a hard time adapting to these changes and to the aging infrastructure and to all these kind of things, just because everything is so much more expensive, right? And so we have areas like the Grandview Bruno groundwater management area where we've got lots of leaky and flowing artesian wells that are, you know, $1 million to abandon or repair. And people just don't have that kind of money. And so this is, I think, where the word soapbox came out in my mind. Was I know you guys all know all this stuff, but I wanted to take this opportunity just to point out how important it is to have funding available to do these kinds of projects. You know, the city of Boise has their own funding, Boise and Payette. You know, they've got rental pool money and money from you guys and all of that. And I think particularly now with some of the uncertainty around the federal grant programs and everything, it's important to keep in mind that there's a lot of other projects that, as you guys know, there's no shortage of places to spend money. So particularly now with a lot of things changing, there's a lot of need. So I think that's about all that I have.
Okay, board members, any questions for Nick?
One question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Are the bulk of the new wells, just individual, have single home domestic wells?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, that chart that I showed, the dark blue lines are applications, what we call star cards, and those are for single family domestics. And the other ones, the lightest ones are decommissions, and the ones in the middle of each group are for the long form drilling permits, which would be irrigation wells, municipal wells, things like that. So you can see the vast majority of them are single family.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Patton, we're to the director's report. I believe I seen the acting director slide into the room.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
Are we gonna have comments? I mean, I don't want to deprive the acting director from presenting anything he might have on his mind, but if he is fine, we're fine too.
Mr. Chairman, I hadn't prepared anything for today. I didn't know you were gonna invite comments, but I'm available for questions if the board has some.
Okay, I'm looking around the room. I think we're fine. I just wanted to acknowledge you and your efforts here at the department, along with Mr. Patton, as you assist our learned director keep track of all the water in the state.
I do have two items under director's report, Mr. Chairman. First, just want to make all the board members aware that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, the director and some others, including me, will be traveling around to certain basins that are tributary to the Eastern Snake Plain Aquifer. As a result of, Senate Bill 1341 last year, most of the big lost and the little lost were brought in to the area of common groundwater supply on the Eastern Snake Plain, and therefore subject to the Surface Water Coalition delivery call. Furthermore, that piece of legislation gave the director the authority to bring in additional tributary basins going forward. So we will be making stops in Arco, Howe, Aramo, Arbon Valley, and Malta to spread the word and let them know that, particularly in the big lost and little lost, the clock is ticking for those folks to develop a mitigation plan and get it approved, or to join the existing mitigation plan between the groundwater users and the surface water users on the Eastern Snake Plain. The other three basins have a little more time, but I think the director's intent is to move fairly fast and bring the Portneuf, Bannock Creek, and the Raft into the area of common groundwater supply within the next couple of years. So I think the clock is starting to tick for those folks as well.
Okay, you said a couple of things. Does that encompass your couple of things, or did you have anything?
The other item I did want to touch on was the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee's action on the department's budget, I think a week ago today. There's been a lot of discussion about the $30 million item, and we've talked about that over the last couple of days. But there were other items that the department requested that JFAC did approve, and one item they didn't approve. So the department had requested additional positions to support water right administration, particularly in those tributary basins to the Eastern Snake Plain and in other parts of the state. That was included. Let's see, additional funding for GIS costs, additional funding for what we call laserfish. That's basically online to continue migrating paper forms to an online form process for the department's processes. We're doing about one a year of those things. Some funds for replacement items. The item that the JFAC did not approve was the department's request for funding for a public information officer. So that's an item that we're going to have to figure out, over the near term. As Steve is, trying to wind his services down a little bit. So with that, Mr. Chairman, those are the items I had.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Patton? Steve looks like he might have one more year left in him. Okay, we're down to non-action items for discussion. Mr. Gibbs, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Dean? Joanne?
Nothing here, Mr. Chairman.
Other than the fact, next meeting in May will be in Moscow. That's the Best Western. The university is?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, to that point, Mr. Patton, is there any information we need to know about the next meeting?
Yes, your next regular meeting is scheduled for May 22nd and 23rd. It had been scheduled for Lewiston, but because that is the college baseball World Series week, I or Jennifer, between us, made the executive decision to move it to Moscow and have the meeting rooms at the University Inn reserved. For those coming from southern Idaho, the state plane or one of the state planes will be available for us to take off to transport you from the Boise airport to Moscow if that's the way you want to travel.
Okay, Mr. Gibbs.
Seems how the College World Series is there. Does our field trip on the Thursday afternoon include one of the College World Series baseball games?
That's an interesting thought. I hadn't talked to our tour guide, but I'm looking right at her.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Mr. Gibbs, I did check into that. The games don't actually start till Friday evening, but if you want to stay, I can get you a ticket.
Okay, that's an interesting piece of information to me. I didn't realize that Lewiston was the mecca for college baseball, but apparently it is. Okay.
They do this every match.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
We did a JFAC service, literally, and they have literally a gorgeous facility for baseball. It's
cool.
It's world class. So it is worth a stop to see if you ever have the opportunity.
Okay, all right. I think with that, we could look for that motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we